Nobody denies that's what Hamas is doing. And to sit across the table from an organization that says, we will not recognize you, we want to destroy you, and we will use terrorism against your innocent children is impossible. We did sit across the table from Fatah. We do have the beginnings of a negotiation with Mr. Aboud. And we certainly do have the Fatah opposed to the terrorism of Hamas. After all, they were expelled by a military coup by Hamas. So all of the issues that I believe the professor and I have in common, we should at least agree on basic facts, and the overwhelming one that I don't think the professor would deny is Hamas's aim is terrorism to kill innocent civilians, and its objective is the destruction of Israel, not the recognition of Israel, not two states that can live side by side in peace.
Professor Neve Gordon.
The problem is yes, intentions are important, but the facts are more important. And the fact is that Israel is the one that's doing the harm to much more harm to civilians than the Hamas ever did and ever will do. Israel has killed in the past 2 weeks 275 children, and not Hamas, regardless of the intentions. You mentioned the school. Israel's dealing with a propaganda war. Israel is the one that disseminated a video of Hamas shooting rockets from a school, a video that's almost 2 years old, claiming that the video was taken a day or two earlier. So Israel is in a propaganda war. Yes, the Hamas is fighting out from a civilian population, but Israel has the choice whether it's going to bomb the civilian population or not, and it is intentionally deciding to bomb the civilian population. So in terms of intentionality and bombing areas where there are civilians, Israel's acting like a state terrorist. So if your definition of terrorism doesn't take into account the identity of the actor, and state actors can also be terrorists, then when you bomb a school and when you bomb a university and when you bomb neighborhoods and you're killing much more civilians than militants, then you're doing something that is an act of terror. And I have a problem. I think my views are pro-Israelis. I would like to see Israel existing in the Middle East 60 years down the line, and not only the first 60 years. And the only way for Israel to continue to exist in the Middle East is if it changes its approach towards the region and see itself as a leader of peace and not a belligerent actor in the region. And Israel has been living on the sword. Some of our neighbors have been living on the sword. But we have to come out and say we no longer want to live on the sword, because those who live on the sword, as the Bible tells us, also die on the sword. We have to come out and say we are willing to talk with our enemies, even with people that say that they do not believe in the existence of Israel. The PLO, you mentioned Fatah, the PLO said that they do not believe in the existence of Israel for many years, and ultimately we sat down and talked with them, and they are now considered our Palestinian partner. I believe that if there's a pragmatic side, a strong pragmatic wing in Hamas, that if we start negotiation with them over the years, these people will also agree to the existence of Israel and be willing to live side by side with us. If we do not talk with them, if we continue this cycle of violence, ultimately Israel will be destroyed, because ultimately the technological edge that we have over our neighbors will not be meaningful. So we have to change our approach. We have to be by changing our approach, we're actually pro-Israeli. We say we want to see Israel 100 years from now. And the only way we'll see Israel exist 100 years from now is if Israel makes peace with Syria, with Lebanon, and with the Palestinian people.
Professor Neve Gordon and Lanny Davis, we're going to break, then come back. Then we will be joined by Congressmember Dennis Kucinich, speaking to us from Cleveland, one of 5 Congress members to vote against the resolution in support of Israel. And then we'll be speaking with Jewish women who are standing up to the Israeli invasion of Gaza. One in Toronto, one here in New York. A major protest is planned today outside the Israeli consulate at 5 in the afternoon. Lanny Davis is former attorney, former special counsel to President Clinton. He is currently an attorney, and he's a senior advisor and spokesperson for the Israel Project. Neve Gordon is in Beersheba, in Israel, chair of the Department of Politics and Government at Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. Stay with us.
يا فلسطين الأحرار يا غزة الأبطال الصهيوني جاي النهار درا 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 كلنا نندفع احنا النحشار شيهدوا ببيوتنا بقتلوا بالأطفال يا فلسطين الأحرار يا غزة الأبطال الصهيوني جاي ارجع على بلدك كأنك ساكت بقى سلك ذنبك مش حيالله حكي ايوه انت مفكر انه سلاح بتخوفني على القليل اعمل شي قبل ما تصير تحكي عامل حالك قبضاي وانت واقف وراي خلص منك مثل شربة المي بفضي لك عقلاتك وبدير النمو صفاي خلتني ببعض وبشرب مثل شاي صدقني مثل ما كنا نرمي حجارة برمي كلامي وكلامي سكارة أنا جبارة ما بخافش من أطلاق النار
DemocracyNow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Our guests are attorney Lanny Davis, senior advisor, spokesperson for the Israel Project in Washington, D.C., and Professor Neve Gordon, chair of the Department of Politics and Government, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev in Israel, author of Israel's Occupation. I want to talk about why Israel invaded at this point. What is your understanding of this? They said Hamas broke the ceasefire. Professor Gordon, is that the reason you feel that this happened?
Hamas did launch an incredible amount of rockets at the end of the ceasefire. Israel actually is the first actor that broke the ceasefire on November 1st when it attacked in the Gaza, November 4th when it attacked in the Gaza Strip. I think the actual reasons have to do, the 2 major reasons, with rebuilding the reputation of the Israeli military after its humiliation in 2006 in Lebanon and the upcoming Israeli elections. Both Labor and Kadima, the 2 out of the 3 major parties, were behind in the polls against Bibi Netanyahu's Likud, who was blaming them of being soft on the Palestinians. And I think the timing in terms of the elections, which are on February 10th, was perfect to show that Kadima and Labor that are in party know how to be tough on the Palestinians. And in fact, already in the polls, we see that Labor has added almost 50% to what it had before the war began. So I think there's some cynical political issues and reputation issues that played a dramatic part in initiating this war. I think that Hamas also acted or miscalculated and acted totally wrong, that it launched the rockets on Israel. I think strategically and morally it was a mistake. But I'm not sure Israel had to react through such a war. I think through diplomatic means it could have been stopped.
Lanny Davis, are you concerned about the blockade not only on the Palestinians but also on information? The New York Times, the BBC, Reuters, CNN have all filed a complaint with the Israeli Prime Minister not allowing international press into Gaza. Why do you think Israel is not allowing press in?
Well, first of all, I don't want to duck your latter question because I'm in favor of greater media going into Gaza so they can report the facts rather than false reporting. I'd like to get back to that, but let me start with your use of the word blockade. That's an inaccurate, or at least a biased word. I don't say that you intended it that way, but it is. There is a blockade of tunnels and any other means of access that the Hamas has used to allow the import of these rockets from Iran. This is an Iranian-subsidized operation, just like Hezbollah. And yet 165 trucks of humanitarian, medical, food aid went into Gaza yesterday from Israel. It is the Egyptians that have blocked access. You must ask the Egyptian government, why are you blocking access? Because they know these tunnels have been used by Hamas not to resupply their people with food and medical aid, but with rockets who are placed among civilians, next to schools, under hospitals, to kill civilians in Israel. So blockade is really, I think, a word that needs to be changed. It's a selective blocking of terrorist war instruments that are being supplied primarily by Iran, and the Egyptian government has the ability to open those tunnels, and they see the same danger as does Israel.
Well, let me put that